Oh, wow. That was a nice, fun, little sweet album. So pretty and innocent and fun and cutesy. Okay, so it looks like King Gizzard's got a new album out quite soon after the other ones. Well, let's take a listen to it. I mean, it's probably going to be along similar lines. Let's see what that's like.
I have got insano. I lost poor volcano. So there is no planet B. That's the rat's nest.
Oh, fuck the hell yes. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the ASMR review show. It is now time to talk about my favorite King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, the one that started it all, that began my obsession with the band, and this is Infest the Rats Nest. This is where King Gizzard, out of the blue, randomly, while they were in the middle of promoting a fun-loving boogie album, Fishing for Fishies, decided, hey, guess what? We're a thrash metal band now. And they just released a full-on, old-school thrash metal that was like Slayer meets Kill 'Em All meets Motorhead, with even some influences from like Black Sabbath and maybe some newer doom bands and stuff like Sleep and Electric Wizard. And oh yeah, man, yeah. So, fair warning, I will be fanboying quite hard over this album because I love it. You know, I am a metalhead. I like metal music. I like a lot of different genres, a lot of different styles. But, you know, the thing I always come back to is the metal music. And to see a band that has had a wide variety of meddlings in different forms of psychedelic and progressive rock, and garage rock and all this different stuff, and the microtonal bits and the jazz and the boogie stuff and the acousticness and all that, to see a band finally go all out on this potential that they had and just give her in that thrash metal direction is so very satisfying for me. So this will be incredibly biased. Fair warning. And of course, we need ourselves a nice, good metal beer for this metal album. And once again, I have found the perfect drink for this review. This is the Rip and Tear IPA from Boombox Brewing. So, you know, I know that you don't have to pretend to like IPAs, but I still do. It's your standard IPA, you know, thick, bitter, and delicious. But this is how they sell you, is with the cool artwork, and this is obviously a Doom reference, right? Classic video game series. Rip and tear. Doom is eternal. I thought I'd wear my Slayer shirt because, you know, why not, right? So, I mean, also, what this album has stuff to do with Mars, and original Doom is taking place on Mars, so that's even more of a connection, right? So yeah, Infest the Rats Nest was like, what, the 15th album from King Gizzard, or something like that. Pretty crazy high amount of them. And yeah, it's just like, hey, we're doing good with thrash metal. And part of me wonders if the reason why we didn't get an album in 2018 from them was because they were working on these two albums simultaneously. And if also the whole point of Fishing for Fishies was to set up that hilarious contrast of, hey, look, we went from fishing for fishies to there is no blooded bee. Right? I mean, it's gotta be. It's definitely a part of it. And we went from music videos where, like, the band's all, like, hanging out with cartoon gators from quarters in the river to being lit on fire by a weird person and choking on gasoline and being shot to death. Yeah. Right? It's great. It's wonderful. I would like to put a disclaimer that listening to metal music does not make you a violent person. In fact, sometimes not having my metal music makes me really, really violent. And thankfully this album does a great job of satisfying that niche for me, so that's good. Okay, on to the album. This is Infest the Rats Nest. And there's this weird, like, sculpture, statue of sorts, and it might be hard to tell actually from the angle of the photograph, but it's like, it's a rat's mouth, like, pointing upwards, like, that's the eye, that's the bottom jaw, so it's looking up, and there's nothing really on the back, just the track list, and is that meant to be XV, as in 15, this is the 15th album, I think. I guess so. And then the inner gatefold is just the band being lit on fire. Yeah. Wonderful stuff. It also came with a poster, which you may have seen displayed in some of my videos over there, and it's just like a larger form of the artwork. You know, it's such a sweet little statue. Very ominous. Very ominous picture indeed. So, inner sleeve with the lyrics. What's interesting is it's really only a 3-piece for this album, at least in terms of, like, the writing and recording of it. Like, Lucas, bass player, he didn't actually play bass on this album. Joey Walkie Jake, he played bass, and then Lucas had to, like, learn all the bass parts, which is pretty cool, and he had to do that and managed to do that. And then Cookie's only on a few songs, and Ambi, he's only on a little bit for, like, the harmonica and the backing vocals. And I honestly think we need more metal bands, or more metal albums to be recorded by artists that are not typically metal artists, because the unique vibe that Giz brings to this genre is just so excellent. Like, one critique you could have is the guitar solos aren't, like, too thrashy and elaborate. Like, if you want, like, you know, big sweep picking, you know, soaring solos with lots of crazy arpeggios and trem stuff and tapping and Eddie Van Halen-ness and shredding, they don't really do that much of it because they're not really shredders. I think Stu even said he avoided making music like this because it is difficult to play. Most of the solos are just doing lots of, like, sort of, you know, like fast tapping. So if that is not your thing, then I guess that might be a disappointment to you, but I think it works. And it's a band where they have 3 guitar players, not 1, not 2, 3 guitars, and somehow they still find a way to have the bass perfectly in the mix, and they have bass solos, and there's harmonica solos, and, like, harmonica adding perfectly to the ambiance of the songs. How is it bands that are specifically all about metal cannot properly put the bass in their mix and it gets ignored. And yet some random psychedelic Australian bands can come along and show them, alright boys, this is how you do it. It's crazy. So this album, in addition to being the like musical antithesis to Fishing for Fishies, it's like the same message, but you know, a lot more in your face about it. Like Fishing for Fishies is like, hey everyone, let's all be nice to the earth. That would be fun, wouldn't it? And Rat's Nest is just like, we are all burning alive and we're gonna die. So, you know, it's a fun contrast in that way. It starts off with the song Planet B. And that's again about how just like, you know, we're totally killing the planet and there is no alternative, right? You know, there's not going to be this Planet B, this second perfect garden world for us to go to where everything's great, right? We can't live off of that fantasy that the earth here is expendable. And, you know, there's those kind of cringy, trendy t-shirts like, there's no Planet B, guys, I'm trendy and hip. And this song just kind of gets in the face of that, like, there's no Planet B. So, I like that. One of my favorite Giz songs just perfectly hits you in the face with that double bass. And it's good to know that Cavs, he finally got the double kick down, right? He couldn't get the double kick down for Motorhead, but he got it down for this. So, good on you, Cavs. Good job. Mars for the Rich. Some have joked that that's like an Elon Musk diss track. This idea that like the rich people gotta go live on Mars. You know, Mars for the privileged, Earth for the poor. Mars terraforming slowly, Earth has been deformed. Right. So this idea that like, oh, you know, us rich people are gonna go colonize Mars. That's the thing. And it's like, hey, don't you think maybe we should try to fix some of our problems here on Earth before we focus on trying to go live on another planet, right? You know, if you got all this money and time and resources to commit to something like that, wouldn't you want something a little bit more relevant to our current standing? And then Organ Farmer is just like, I don't know, I think the idea of like, just genetically modify people or like, you know, like constantly taking organs out of people and stuff like that. It's pretty messed up. Fun song, lots of different things. And then we get to, at the time of this recording, hopefully not, it's relevant at the time I'm filming this. Hopefully it's not relevant when this review actually comes out. We'll see. And that is the song Super Bug. So this came out in 2019, and this was about the idea that eventually there would be some kind of new scary flu virus, a superbug virus, that could potentially threaten all of the world and totally destroy all of humanity. Oh, they kind of called that one, didn't they? Yeah, so it's kind of the idea that, like, eventually, like, you know, we won't be able to get rid of this virus and it'll kill us all, right? Superbugs coming up. H1N1 was a flop. Superbug is like a truck. Penicillin is a duck that's sitting on the road for luck. Never ever ever stops and never ever gives a fuck. Superbug is like the full-on doom metal song on this album. Really tasty, stony, sludgy doom riffs. Very, very heavily sleep-inspired. Great song, great song. I like to jokingly sing it as Superbugs coming up. COVID-19 was a flop. Because, like, not to get too real and too depressing, but, like, you think about it like it's COVID-19. Okay, they're getting vaccinations out and stuff like that, and their case counts are declining, which is a good sign. Hopefully the trend continues that way. We'll see what happens. But basically, this was a virus where the main thing is it gives you flu-like symptoms, and for some people it can be really deadly. And it's really contagious because it has a long incubation period. So if you get sick, you might not know it for a while, and you can go about your life and spread it to people, whereas regular flu is usually pretty obvious right away if you get it, so you're much faster to quarantine yourself or, not get others sick. Like, you'll know when you know. So this whole situation we're in is a result of like a flu virus that has a long incubation period. And the solution was, I don't know, maybe we'll pay people some money to stay home, I guess, kind of. And like, I guess, if people want to riot over the fact that they can't get a haircut, like, that's fine, I guess. And the conspiracy keyboard warriors will go absolutely nuts. That this is like the secret rise of communism. And, we'll maybe ask people to stay home for like, I don't know, a month, and then be like, all right, boys, time to go back to work and do everything as normal. So when the next virus comes up, because there will be another one, there always is, when the next virus comes up, where it's basically like you get it and your internal organs melt into liquid and you sneeze and everyone in a 2-mile radius is instantly infected and you die in about 30 seconds and there's no cure whatsoever. When that virus hits, we're fucked. Anyway, sorry. This is supposed to be a video for relaxation and talking about music and fun, happiness, and I just got a little distracted here, but yeah, if there was one song to sum up everything right now, King Gizzard had the perfect timing with the song Superbug. That's for sure. So the first half of the album is like a sort of general concept of like a future Earth and what's happened to it if we don't make any change, and the second half now kind of becomes a mini story about this group of people that are trying to like put together a shuttle, a spaceship to escape Earth and land on a new planet and find a new home. Venusian 1 starts off with them building a rocket, and they're planning to travel to Venus, right? And then perihelion is then about their sort of trip through the rocket. The perihelion is a reference to some sort of distance, astronomical point or relation between the two bodies, two heavenly bodies around in the orbits of the planets and the sun. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head, but it's some kind of relation to like that. Perihelion is definitely one of my favorites on the album. Love the chorus to that one. And then you get Venusian 2, which to me is like Road Train from Nonagon Infinity Part 2. Right? And this is now about how they're making it to Venus, but they're kind of like becoming weirdly addicted to the fire as they're burning up vitamin V. And then we get to self-immolate, right? I have gone insano. I lust for volcano. And they just want to be set on fire, auto-cremate, self-immolate. And so, yeah, they like burn up an atmosphere. They willingly set themselves on fire. And then in hell, they go to hell. And I guess Satan himself is so impressed by their quest and their desire that he like brings them back from hell, lets them go back to the realm of reality, and he leads them to the Rat's Nest, which is Mars, right, where the rats live. You know, Satan points me to the Rat's Nest. And then finally, at the end, I like how the line is 15 infantry, and the 15 is represented by the Roman numeral 15, just like what was on the back of the album. And that's how the album ends, with the infantry paratrooping into the new Provolene scene. And then they infest the rat's nest and kill all the rats. And that's how it ends. Funny enough, I remember first listening to this album, right? I'm listening to the last song, Hell, and I'm like, alright, this song's a banger, this is really great. And then, you know, it has an end to it, right? Hold out the big long note, and I'm just like, I look at the time, and there's like about a minute or so left in the song, and I'm like, okay, if they want to really end this properly, they better bring back a riff, but slower. And then you hear it kind of fading out. I'm just like, yes, yes. That's how I get every time. I can tell that like a song's building to something I wanted to build to. I'm just like, yes, yes. And that's how it ends. It brings back the main riff, but slower and heavier and brutaler and more menacinger and awesomer and just yes, yes. That is how you end a good thrash metal album, right? And the record is pretty cool. It's not a full solid color. It's not like a weird like mix of sorts. It's pretty cool half and half of red and black. That's pretty cool. Fun way to do it. I've seen some versions where it's like 3/4 one or 2/3 one, but you know, I think the half and half turned out pretty well on mine. By the way, if you didn't think these two albums were like related in somehow, if you haven't noticed this, can you see the connection? It was meant to be. And that is Infest the Rats Nest, my favorite King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard album, because I always dug their heavier stuff, and then they just went and did a full-blown album of heaviness and thrashiness and stoner and doom and sci-fi and fantasy and, you know, politicalness and environmentalness and relevantness and all those wonderful things that I enjoy in my music. So basically this album was made for me. At the time of filming this review, KG and LW are out, and Butterfly 3000, I kind of know what that's sounding like. So they haven't done a straight up thrash album again. I don't know if they're going to, or if they're planning on it. I mean, if we could get Infest the Rats Nest too, that would be awesome. But I know there's some people who they never seem to want Giz to do two of the same album. They're wanting them to always keep pushing and going again. That's why the KGLW, some people were a little negative to that, because they were like, oh, more microtones. Giz, this is like the 6th time this week you've shown microtones in this class. So I dug it, but not everyone does. So if they did do more thrash, that'd be great. I'd dig that. They've got enough microtonal stuff to do an entire microtonal concert. Now we need enough thrash stuff to do just its own thrash concert where it's not just all of Rat's Nest. But if they did all of Rats Nest, that'd be awesome. You know. Here's an unfortunate fact. I knew King Gizzard was touring in my area in 2019, and I didn't know them at the time, so I didn't go see them. And then, like a couple days later, I listened to Rat's Nest, and I thought, oh, that's actually really good. Too bad I missed them. And then I started getting into them, and then they announced the April concert of 2020, and then the superbug decided to hit us. So now I'm currently waiting until October of 2022. 2.5 years after the concert was supposed to happen. It's fine. It's fine. I just need to listen to some thrash metal and relax. Where are my headphones? I'll find them later. It's fine. So yeah, I know for a lot of people, Rat's Nest is not their favorite. I don't really see anyone that talks about it being their favorite. They just like it a lot or think it's cool. For the people that aren't into thrash metal, they don't like it at all because it's not really their thing. And you know, I get that. That's fine. I understand it. But for me, this was made for me. So, you know, it's a easy number one in my eyes because I love it. So yeah, who knows if we'll get more thrash? I don't know. And again, I don't know, because when's this review going to be released? How many albums will Giz have out by that time? That's why I'm doing all of these albums in their own videos, so it doesn't get as dated, you know. Anyway, I think that's about all I would say for this one. Yeah, just good times. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that, and I'll catch you next time.